They say money can buy anything: a bigger house, a faster car, a seat at the most exclusive tables in the world. I spent 40 years believing that lie. I built an empire, but in the end I realized I was living in a kingdom of dust. I remember the nights I stayed late at the office, chasing one more deal, one more million, while my children grew up without me. I remember anniversaries I missed, replaced by expensive gifts that couldn't say, "I love you," the way my presents should have. I told myself I was doing it for them. That sacrifice was noble. That success required distance. But all I was really doing was slowly buying my own loneliness. Now, sitting in this quiet mansion, the silence is louder than any boardroom I ever walked into. The gold on my wrist feels heavier than lead. The marble floors are cold beneath my feet. I have the best doctors money can buy, but none of them can sell me a single minute of yesterday. Not one. And that's when the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Life doesn't take things away all at once. It doesn't crash loudly. It doesn't fall apart dramatically. It fades. It fades while you're busy planning the next step, while you're telling yourself you'll slow down later, while you believe there will always be more time. I used to think time was patient, that it would wait for me to catch up, that I could return to the important things whenever I was ready. But time doesn't wait. It doesn't warn you when it's about to change shape. It just keeps moving forward, quietly narrowing your options. The strange thing is, nothing feels wrong when it's happening. You're productive, you're respected, you're admired, you're winning, at least on paper. And yet, somewhere along the way, life becomes smaller. Not in obvious ways, not in ways people notice from the outside, but inside, the spaces where warmth once lived begin to shrink. The conversations get shorter, the silences get longer, the reasons to slow down feel less urgent. You tell yourself you'll call tomorrow, you'll visit next month, you'll take that break once things calm down. But busy seasons don't end. They replace each other. One deadline turns into another. One goal becomes the next. And without realizing it, you stop returning to the places that once made you feel human. I didn't notice it until I tried to remember when I last laughed without checking the time. Not a polite smile, not a forced laugh, a real one. I couldn't remember. That moment didn't feel dramatic. It didn't feel emotional. It felt empty. That's when awareness arrives. Quietly, honestly. We spend years adding things to our lives. Responsibilities, goals, routines, expectations. And without noticing, we slowly remove the things that once made life feel full. Not because they stopped mattering, but because they didn't feel urgent. Urgency becomes the enemy of meaning. We answer emails faster than we answer people. We respond to notifications immediately, but delay conversations that actually matter. We schedule meetings weeks in advance, yet postpone meaningful talks with the people closest to us. We tell ourselves, "I'll get to it later. I'll reach out when life settles. I'll make time when things slow down." But life doesn't settle. It replaces. Days quietly turn into habits. Habits slowly turn into years. And one day you realize something uncomfortable. You've been living efficiently, but not deeply. The distance between who you are now and who you used to be feels wider than you expected. I used to believe meaning was loud, that it arrived in milestones and achievements, in moments people applaud. But meaning is quiet. It hides in pauses, in presence. In moments we don't record, post, or announce. The things we miss aren't dramatic. They're subtle. A conversation that didn't happen. A question we never asked. a visit we postponed one too many times. We don't ignore these moments on purpose. We ignore them because they don't demand attention. They don't flash. They don't shout. They wait. And waiting is dangerous because waiting assumes time is patient. It isn't. Time doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about intentions. It only moves forward. I've noticed something else over the years. The memories that hurt the most aren't the painful ones. They're the gentle ones. The moments that could have been something if we had slowed down, if we had stayed a little longer, if we had listened more carefully, if we had chosen presence over productivity. We rarely regret what we tried and failed. We regret what we never returned to. The calls we meant to make, the people we assumed would always be there, the ordinary evenings we treated as unlimited. There's a quiet grief that comes from realizing you can't go back to the version of life where certain doors were still open. Not because they were closed forcefully, but because time simply moved past them. And the hardest part is accepting that no one is to blame. Not life, not others, not even yourself. You were doing what you were taught. Be busy, be productive, be efficient, keep moving forward. You just weren't taught how to stay present. If you're listening to this and something feels familiar, that isn't coincidence. That's recognition. It's a part of you that still remembers what matters. That part doesn't need motivation. It doesn't need discipline. It doesn't need another plan. It needs permission. Permission to slow down without guilt. Permission to sit without distraction. Permission to reach out without a reason. You don't need a special occasion to reconnect. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need the perfect words. You only need to show up. Because one day showing up will no longer be possible. Life doesn't always take things away loudly. Sometimes it lets them fade while you're looking elsewhere. And one day you notice the silence and wonder when it arrived. This isn't a warning meant to scare you. It's a reminder meant to steady you. A reminder that you still have time. Not unlimited time, but enough. Enough to slow down today. Enough to listen fully. Enough to live a little less efficiently and a little more honestly. Because in the end, the real wealth isn't what you leave behind. It's who was there while you were still here.